Hello everyone, welcome to Watercolor Hour. Today we're going to be painting florals using these pre-printed sheets that you've got in your kit. We're using this workbook called Foil Watercolors by Christine Adolph. And because there are so many different projects throughout the workbook, everyone's got different worksheets. So I'm not going to tell you exactly how to paint it, but I am going to give you some tips on picking colors and mixing colors. So if you have your kit, you should have everything that you need except for some paper towels, a cup of water, and you'll probably also want to grab something to mix colors on, like an old plate, or if you have a palette, that would be very handy. Let's get started. So one of the things that's hardest for me to do when I'm starting a project is to pick my colors. So I included this color wheel just because I thought it might help you. We have our primary colors, which are blue, yellow, and red. Our secondary colors, which are orange, green, and violet. And then our tertiary colors, which are all these mixes here: red, orange, red, violet, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red, orange. And you'll get those by mixing these colors that are on either side of them. So when you're looking at this, you want to look at complementary colors as well as analogous colors. So complementary colors are colors that are on the opposite side of each other on the color wheel. So these two, yellow, green, and red, violet, they look really great together, and they're right next to each other. You'll notice that the colors will pop. However, if you've got these colors of paint and you mix them together, you'll end up with kind of a muddy brownish gray shade. So they look great next to each other, but not mixed. The analogous colors are the neighboring colors. So these oranges and yellows, these greens and blue greens, these all look great mixed together when you're mixing your shades. So you should be okay when you're mixing these neighboring colors together, but not when you're mixing colors that are on the opposite side of the color wheel. So I've included 10 colors in your kit, and they're just colors that I think will look good for florals. So the first thing I do when I get a new set of paint is to see what all the colors look like. So there's your Madder Lake, your quinacridone rose, your lemon yellow, this is a deep yellow, and your permanent orange. We've got a couple of different greens. We've got this olive green, sap green. This is one of my favorite greens to use when I'm painting plants. Prussian blue, cerulean, which is a little bit brighter, and then this permanent blue violet. And I have just enough room down here. So 10 shades in all, and then you can decide which you like. So this is the one that I painted before. I just decided I liked some pinks and yellows, and then later on I added some teals. But not a lot of bright greens. I ended up making this kind of a blue and green mix here. And then these flowers, this is the same shade of pink, it's just this lighter pink is watered down, the darker pink has more paint than it does water. So you can also do that if you'd like to alternate colors. You don't have to change the color, you can just make it lighter or darker depending on how much water you have in your paint mix. So for these, I think I would like to do some purple. So I'm going to grab my permanent blue violet here. I'm going to add some blue and see what that looks like. So sort of a bluish purple. So I'm going to use that, and I'm also going to use the permanent blue violet on these larger flowers. So because these colors are close to each other on the color wheel, this should be okay to mix on the paper. So this flower has some lines here around the center. So I'm just going to add that mix of blue and purple and then come back with some purple. And for stuff like this, I like to just let the colors mix on the paper. So you can see there's some blue there in the center and then purple out here. If I wanted it to be a bit darker with the blue, I could just pick up my paint as long as the paper is still wet and mix it right on the paper that way as well. So I'm just going to do the same thing for these others. So because these are darker and more bold, I'm going to make some of these other flowers a little bit lighter so that not everything is competing. So I've got some of the pink here, and I'm going to start filling in some of these smaller buds. And so they're not all the same color, I'm going to grab some of this pink just on the tip of my brush and drop some just towards the bottom. I've got some more over here. And I'm going to do some yellow. And I'm just watering it down here. I'm going to mix some of this deep yellow in there. And the yellow is going to be sort of fluffy flowers. Whoops. Looks like I've got some over here. And I'm going to drop some of this in. Just to make it a little bit darker. And I think I'm going to make these pink as well, but I'm going to make them a little bit deeper than the ones up here. So I'm painting just around the center, and then I'm going to rinse my brush off and use just water to kind of spread this out. Add a little bit more, just so that it's not all the same shade of pink. This one's a little bit different. It's got a space here in the middle. So I'm only putting water around the outside of that center. And I think I'm just going to leave it white. Had too much water, so I'm just drying my brush off and soaking some of that water up with it. And now some pink. Just around the center. And this one actually looks very similar to these, so I'm going to paint it the same way. It looks like it's just kind of folded. Some more blue. Okay, so now I need to decide if I want to add more colors or just kind of stick to these main shades that I've been using, and I think I am going to stick to the purple, blue, and pink. I see some buds here that I missed earlier. Here. And then for these, I think I'll do a light blue, since we've got some blue here. So I'm just mixing my two blues that I have there on the paper, and I'm going to water it down so it's lighter. And start filling these in. You also have a smaller brush, so if you'd like to use that instead of this bigger one for your small spaces, you can do that. I'm not too concerned about where the paint is going, so I'm just using this bigger one. Okay, that should take care of all the flowers. And for the leaves, you can make the leaves any color you want. They don't have to be green. But I'm going to go ahead and pick my color. Since everything is so bright, I'm going to go ahead and use this sap green instead of the olive. If you're trying to decide and you're not sure, of course you can always mix your own yellow and blue to get green, but if you're just wanting to use one of these, you can always put it on your scrap and then hold it up to your paper and see, does this color actually look good with these other colors? For me, I prefer the brighter green with these colors instead of this olive shade. So once you're done and you see all the colors together, you can decide whether you want to make adjustments. Looking at this, I decided that I wanted my blues to be a bit darker. That's it for today's watercolor hour. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you're watching on Facebook and you'd like to show us what you painted, you can leave a comment on this video. We'd love to see what you worked on. You can check out our calendar for future events, including crafts, guest speakers, and more. Bye!